Mystery at Blind Frog Ranch. Chad Ollinger's profile on television is a study in contrasts. On screen, he is an all-in adventurer, the sort of person who will strip into scuba gear, clamber into a drifting cavern, or ride the uncertainty of a desert wind with the easy confidence of someone who has spent far more time in mud and sunlight than under studio lights. Off camera, the silhouette that matters most to him is smaller and quieter. 4 children who share a life with him that is deliberately kept out of the bright glare of fandom. That dual existence, bold public persona, private domestic core, shapes much of what can be said about his kids and family life. The simplest fact, and the one most often repeated across reporting and profiles, is that Chad is a family man with 4 children. Public descriptions of his life make room for the fact that the family unit exists alongside the drama of the search on the ranch. But details about the children, names, exact ages, school districts, routines, are mostly absent from mainstream narratives. The information that does exist tends to appear in passing or tucked into human interest paragraphs about the strain and sacrifice that long-term treasure hunting and travel impose on personal relationships. Distractify privacy is not accidental. Chad and his wife have chosen to keep their kids away from the bulk of the spotlight, and the choice shows. Where other reality TV families have become content engines, merchandise, social channels, and spin-off storylines, the Ollingers have guarded the domestic corners of their lives. Bits of context do surface. Family photos appear sporadically on social feeds, and an occasional behind-the-scenes snapshot will show a bus or an outpost crowded with children's backpacks, and the small chaos that comes with raising young people in unconventional places. But the public record resists turning those details into spectacle. A recurring visual motif across articles and feature pages is the renovated bus that plays a practical role in the family's life. The bus has been described as both home and symbol, part mobile base camp, part experiment in minimalism, and a canvas for family improvisation. It is a detail that hints at how the kids are growing up, not in static suburban subdivisions, but in a life that moves between the ranch, the road, and the occasional shoot. That lifestyle is presented as formative in ways that are equal parts romantic and challenging, with children learning to be adaptable, resourceful, and comfortable with the unknown. The family's location and rhythms are also defined by the ranch itself. Blind Frog Ranch is described as a 160-acre property in Utah's Uinta Basin, and the show chronicles the search for a legendary deposit said to be linked to ancient civilizations. The ranch is simultaneously workplace and landscape of childhood for Chad's kids. In practical terms, this means summers and weekends that might be filled with driving across scrubland, watching heavy equipment move earth, and hearing conversations about geology or old maps at the kitchen table. For the kids, the ranch is a classroom of a certain kind, a setting where curiosity is rewarded and where the extraordinary is part of the normal scenery. Reports suggest that the dedication required by the search has had a cost. Profiles note that the long arc of excavation, research trips, and media commitments sometimes strain family dynamics. That is not to say that the family is fractured. Rather, the reportage leans into how ambition and obsession, even when nobly framed as the search for history and closure, can require emotional trade-offs. In the small cumulative ways that matter, those trade-offs touch the children as much as the adults. Missed recitals, postponed vacations, or a parent who returns from a long stint away changed by what he has seen. The narrative that emerges is human and familiar. The pursuit of a dream can both fuel and complicate family life. What is known about the children themselves is more impressionistic than factual. Reporters and fans report glimpses. A child with an arm slung around a dog in a photo. Another perched by a window of the bus, sneakers dusted with desert grit. These images suggest ordinary childhood textures, dirt-streaked knees, makeshift forts, an appetite for small adventures, transposed onto an unusual backdrop. The kids' personalities, beyond what their fleeting appearances suggest, have not been heavily profiled, and that absence has the effect of preserving their space. That is both a quiet boundary and a conscious storytelling choice by the family. There is also a generational angle to consider. Chad's father, Duane, is the ranch owner and a prominent figure in the family saga. The story that plays out on screen is a father-son continuum. Duane's belief in the land's secrets, Chad's willingness to do the risky work, and the next generation, the children, who are growing up in the orbit of that search. For the children, Duane's presence is part folklore, part everyday reality. They inherit stories about the land the way other children inherit bedtime myths. The family's narrative functions across 3 generations, and the children are the living bridge between the mythic past the adults chase and a future that will be shaped by the choices made today. Public incidents and headlines in recent years have also underscored why the family might choose privacy. Beyond the grind of excavation, the Ollingers have navigated legal news cycles, public speculation, and the unavoidable oddities of being a reality TV family. These external pressures can amplify the reasons to shield children from attention. When a household operates under a public microscope, normal childhood trials and small failures can be grossly magnified. Keeping the kids out of the frame is a form of protective parenting as much as it is a preference. Journalistic accounts tend to note this without prying, signaling respect for what remains intriguing about Chad's children is the tension between their environment and their potential paths. Growing up partially on a ranch that is either cursed, blessed, or historically significant trains a certain kind of observer and maker. The kids may go on to careers steeped in the outdoors, or they might choose conventional work and education elsewhere. They might embrace the family mission, or they might pivot entirely away from the public law. The narrative possibilities are wide, and for a storyteller, that open horizon is as compelling as any treasure map. Reporters and fans alike can only speculate, because the family has not turned their upbringing into a serialized storyline. That deliberate withholding preserves a future that the children will write for themselves. Screen rant finally. The way the family presents itself. Public when the cameras call, private at the kitchen table, is part of a larger trend in modern celebrity. Not every public figure wants their children to be characters. Some choose instead to let their children grow outside the script. In the case of the Ollingers, that choice feels especially resonant. A family who believes that the land holds secrets chooses to protect the smaller living secrets of their household from becoming part of the excavation. It is a preservation instinct that says something about values. The search for ancient treasure can coexist with a simple, unlit family life where childhood remains in some. What can be said with confidence is simple and grounding. Chad Ollinger is a father of 4 who raises his children in a life that mixes itinerant living and ranch routines. The family has chosen privacy over exposure, so public knowledge remains sketchy and impressionistic rather than precise. The children inhabit a world shaped by excavation, by Duane's long project, and by a renovated bus that doubles as home. Beyond these contours, specifics are scarce by design, and that scarcity is meaningful. It is a boundary against the commodification of childhood, and a small reclaimed space amid the very public pursuit that made the family for fans and observers. That is both the frustration and the charm of the story. The show invites viewers into the thrill of discovery, but the family has kept the most intimate discovery, the daily architecture of raising children, mostly off camera. The result is an ongoing portrait that leaves room for imagination. Kids who learn to read maps as easily as storybooks, who treat an excavator as a backyard toy, who grow up with a horizon in which myth and laundry both have their place. That unresolved quality, in the end, feels intentionally human.